the Messiah said there would be strange signs in the atmosphere, in the sky, and you found out something amazing.
Yes, what's amazing to me is Yeshua said there would be signs in the heavens. The sun would turn dark, the moon would turn to blood or red, and it quotes that in Joel as well. And so I thought, well, this sounds like a total eclipse of the moon, a total eclipse of the sun. And so I went to NASA's website because God is so mathematical. When he created the sun and the moon and the stars, they can project all the eclipses, thousands of years backwards and thousands of years forward. And in Genesis 1:14, God said he created the sun and the moon for signs. Well, in Hebrew, the word there is oath, and it means signals. So the main purpose of the sun and the moon was that God wanted to send us signals. And then it says for seasons. Well, we think winter, spring, summer, fall. Sure. But the Hebrew word is moed, the same word translated as festival. So the sun and the moon God created as signals on his feast days for signs of his appearing. And then it says it's for days and years. So I went to NASA's website and I looked, and lo and behold, there are 4 total eclipses of the moon back to back in 2014 and 2015. NASA calls it a tetrad, where there's no partial eclipses in the middle. And when I looked at it on our normal calendar, and I didn't notice anything. And then I thought, well, I have to look at the biblical calendar. So I switched the dates to the biblical calendar. And behold, in 2014, on Passover, the first day of Passover is when we have a total eclipse of the moon. The next one is on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. And then again in 2015, there's a total eclipse of the moon on Passover again, and then again on the Feast of Tabernacles.
Now, looking back in the past, when there have been these total eclipses on these set appointments from God, these biblical feasts, there have been some amazing, significant prophetic things that have happened.
Yes, these tetrads, or these 4 moons, total eclipses of them, happen rarely, but last century they happened twice. 1967 and 1968, when Jerusalem was recaptured on Passover and Tabernacles, and then again right after Israel became a nation in 1948, it happened in 1949 and 1950. So I thought, oh my gosh, this is tied to Israel. And so I looked in the 1800s, there weren't any. 1700s, there weren't any. 1600s, there weren't any. In the 1500s, there were like 4 or 5 times, but none of them fell on the feast days. And then in the 1492 is when all the Jews were kicked out of Spain. And in 1493 and 1494, the same thing. And so I thought, wow, 2014 and 2015 looks like it's to be pretty significant.
All right, we know it's going to be significant just based on what you've said. A little sanctified speculation. What might happen? Might. I know we can't predict, but might.
Yeah, I don't predict anything, but I think this is a sign that will happen during the tribulation, at some period of the 7-year tribulation. I don't know if it's in the beginning, the middle, the end, but I think that God is trying to signal his people that there's something significant that will be happening in 2014 and 2015. And the reason for that, too, is I thought, well, what about the solar eclipse? Because he also said the sun would turn dark. So I went and I looked at NASA's website, correlated it to the biblical holidays. It so happens, Nisan 1, let's say roughly April 1st, God told Moses to change the calendar to begin in the fall to begin in the spring for the religious calendar. And it so happens on Nisan 1 is when Moses set up the tabernacle. Okay? There's a total solar or eclipse of the sun, the total eclipse of the sun on the first day of the religious calendar. And then 2 weeks later on Passover, the total lunar eclipse. Then there's another solar eclipse on the Feast of Trumpets, followed by another total lunar or eclipse of the moon on Tabernacles in 2015.